Good morning. It's not really fair to call it morning yet. Um, Out here in Reno, we're the farthest away from morning in the United States because we're in the Pacific Standard Time, and the light is just getting ready to come over the mountaintops. So it's still nighttime. It's an opportunity for us to take just a quiet moment and consider what the day is, what this means. Now, I'm guessing many of you are getting up fairly early to get things ready for the day. I know that last night we spent some time together um, and getting things ready for this morning. But I wanted to take some time before the day started to just quiet my heart and my mind, to share with you, to maybe get a center for the day. And so I thought I'd light a candle, grab some water because it's not even time for breakfast yet, and get ready here. I'm going to read from John chapter 20. It'll be familiar, and if not, when you come to the 10 o'clock service, you'll hear it again. Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." So Peter went out with the other disciple, and they were going toward the tomb. Both of them were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. And stooping to look in, he saw the linen clothes lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came following him and went into the tomb. He saw the linen clothes lying there, and the face cloth which had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, also went in, and he saw it and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture, that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to their homes. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb, and as she wept, she stooped to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had lain, one at the head and one at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but she did not know that it was Jesus. And apparently we're not getting any sound. So 1 second. That's why I check my text messages. Check sound. Oh, Barbara said there was no sound. Everyone else has sound. Hey, Barbara and Buck, I appreciate the message. Everybody else is getting sound. So, hey, Barbara and Buck, and I can hear it in the other room, so sorry. It might just be yours. I don't want you to miss out. Brittany's watching on Facebook in the other room. Maybe post on there and Megan can try to help you. Having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, "Tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. And Jesus said to her, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and that he had raised these things, and he had said these things to her. Now this is interesting. This is the part of the story I was thinking about this morning. On the evening of that day, the first day of the week, the doors being locked where the disciples were for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and said to them, "Peace be with you." When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were glad. And Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, even so I am sending you." This morning, the sermon, based on what I had written for the one focus. You guys remember the one focus? That seems like a lifetime ago. Even though we're working very diligently in unity in this time. When I wrote the one focus, and we talked about one temple, one priest, one king, one prophet, one sacrifice, one Lord. It was all pointing to Sunday being Jesus is the one we've been waiting for. And as soon as this stuff came out and we weren't able to meet in person anymore, I myself had a very novel idea that our Easter should be Easter with the disciples. And as I'm watching many of my friends around the country who are already leading their services because of their time zone, we're all doing the same theme this year, which is kind of funny. Easter with the disciples. What was the first Easter like? It was radically different than what we've all come to expect from Easter. I've come to expect to get up at 4 o'clock, if not earlier, and already drive down to the church and see everybody from the youth group already working and smell sausage and bacon and see people who've been here since 2 or 3 a.m. Getting breakfast ready. Walking through and putting together all my sermon stuff, having my quiet time in the morning, and then heading over to the sanctuary for the sunrise service, where we have a beautiful festivity, and then we go through the whole morning with 3 more services, with friends of the family, with our modern worship, and then with our traditional worship with the horns and the organ and the timpani and the bells and the choir and just that great triumphal celebration. To see the crowd of flowers and to see families coming together for breakfast in their Easter garb and taking pictures together at our photo drops and all that kind of stuff. Just seeing happy and celebratory people and just having this great big fanfare and excitement. Oh, that's not what the first Easter was about. Could you imagine the confusion that those disciples were in? Can you imagine what it would have been like to be Peter and the disciple whom Jesus loved, who we know to be the writer of this gospel, John, who hear from Mary, first of all, their leader, who ought to be given a proper burial. Not everybody agreed with what he did, but come on, to steal his body in the middle of the night, to move him to some undisclosed location because you wouldn't even let him rest? That doesn't seem right. They run to the tomb, they see that it's empty. Their worst fears are realized. Confusion sets, as John tells us. They did not yet understand that Jesus was rising from the dead. They didn't understand the scriptures. Then to go back to their home, once again, walk through that door with the same pain they must have walked through it after Jesus breathed his last. After they left Golgotha, to lock the door, to bar the windows, and to sit in silence. Fear, uncertainty, worry. All kinds of things setting in again. To lose Jesus all over again would be hopeless, I think is the word I'd use. And they go and they sit together in locked rooms and closed doors. You can see where that definitely lines up with what we're doing right now. We're behind closed doors. We're behind locked doors and closed windows. We're sitting in our homes, huddled around our friends, our family, the people we live with, the people we love. Not as many as we'd like to be, sadly. And there's fear, there's worry about what's going on outside. The disciples feared the Jews because if they would come and take Jesus, this great prophet whom everybody respected and feared and worried, but the question, I guess, is, I'm sorry, I'm getting technical. Hopefully Barbara and Buck can hop back on in a minute. If they could take Jesus, that all of the crowds respected, and they could crucify him, what could they do to us, the disciples? Their lives were in jeopardy. They weren't able to continue on in the ministry and to serve, to take care of needs. They were just stuck. I can't imagine how restless that might be. With all the discord and disunity within what to do next and what was happening in Jerusalem during the Passover, maybe they were just waiting for things to quiet down. But that restlessness would be unnerving. I can only say that because I know this week has been restless. Every day wanting things to be different, wanting to celebrate in my regular fashion and do things the way I want to do things. Not this year. Even last night, I slept very little. I woke up every few hours. Checking my clock, checking my watch to make sure that I was going to wake up on time, which is a standard Saturday practice. But the restlessness comes from the unknown. This is a weird year. This is a weird way to celebrate. But in the story of the resurrection, the doors are locked, the disciples are sitting in fear, restlessness, disunity, discomfort, hopelessness, the unknown. And even in that space where nobody's supposed to be able to get in, they're barred, they're ready to defend. Jesus is present with them. I love that it doesn't follow the Revelation 3:20. He stands at the door and knocks. Nope. He crosses all barriers and he's just there. And he greets them. Peace be with you. And then he shows them the marks of his glory. Things haven't changed. Things aren't different. This is how they were always going to be. Here you can see the heartache and the pain that we've just endured in the last 3 days is still present. But now instead of the marks of shame and humility, they're the marks of his glory. For in his death, he has won many sons to glory. And as they see his voice, they are glad. That word glad is just the pure delight and happiness, the joy of the moment. Because in that moment, the Jews are still out there. Fear is still present in the city. disunity, discomfort, unrest, upheaval. But in that moment, it's enough. I've been telling Brittany this week that it's been difficult to consider what Easter used to mean before being a pastor, because this is a weird year. It's been difficult because I used to think about Good Friday, which was always my favorite service, the Tenebrae service, and just the different view going into that service before becoming a pastor and serving during that service. Kind of the reflection and the solemnness, and when you start to work on it, you're worried about making sure it gets done well and on time, and you want to make sure everything comes together and it helps connect people, and it's good, just different. And so it's weird to be at home when you feel like you should be at church, to be celebrating in a different way, and to wonder how this feels like Easter and yet doesn't feel like Easter the way that I've come to expect it and I'm used to it. And then I'm reminded of the words of Jesus. Be with you. In my presence, your restlessness, your hopelessness, your fear, your wondering, your waiting has peace. And so I realize as I look around, you know what? Let's go. We're going to drive. I'm going to switch the camera. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. The mountains, the sun. It's rising. It's about to happen. That's enough. That's enough for a day like today. And check this out. I know my camera's like all over the place. Look at that. We've got food. We've got meals. We've got stuff from days. We still got stuff from Monday, Thursday. Our refrigerator is full. Our pantry is full. Not with toilet paper, but with everything we need to eat. That's enough. You want to see what's going on in here? We're getting ready for worship in just a few hours. It's going to look different. Brittany? See? Oh, I'm going to change it back. And that's enough. That'll be enough. She's enough too. More than enough. I got to show you this because this is awesome. We've got a place to live, and it's more than enough. Still waiting for Easter to start. And she's enough. You getting ready, bud?
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too, Dada. And I'm gonna write this one.
He's enough. Hey, he is risen.
He's risen indeed.
Hallelujah. And you know what? That's enough. Because he's enough. Jesus is with me. Jesus is with you. He's with us. And that's enough. He's given us homes. He's given us food. He's given us worship. He's given us family. We have more than we could ever hope or need. Because he is enough. He has overcome death and the grave, and he is risen. He is risen indeed. Alleluia. And we will celebrate today in his resurrection and in his peace. Grace and peace. Good morning. I'll see you soon.